Alright, we're back again. I think we hit a YouTube time limit, of course, right before we were about to change highways. So, sorry. It made it across 6 lanes on its own. When it came to the exit, there were a lot of cars backed up, and it was pretty much going to come to a stop. So I had to use the accelerator a little bit to just kind of match their speed and get up a little bit farther forward. And finally someone let it in, but it made all the changes on its own up to that point, and then it merged over on its own once it had a space. So it needed a little help, but it got there. And we're back again in more traffic.
Also, it kind of reminds me that, like, I think when the Model S and X get a refresh, I think they're going to get a charge port that's much bigger, that looks kind of like the Model 3, so that they can fit a CCS, you know, natively in Europe, just like the Model 3.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the picture for that adapter right now, the Type 2 the adapter goes inside the charge port of the Type 2 charge port on the Model S, and since it's pretty small, it has like to extend like an inch, so that the second part, the bottom part of the CCS combo adapter can actually fit, and then you can plug it in. So yeah, you're right, it probably makes sense to have a slightly larger charge port. Alright, moving on from Tesla, Audi. The Audi e-tron, like we said, is starting up deliveries in Europe in a somewhat significant way. I mean, we've seen Norway getting a few hundred units, a few other markets are also getting a few units. The US is going to follow up next month in May. They're going to start deliveries for the reservation holders, and the dealership are also going to get their first display and test fleet vehicles. And with that announcement, they announced the EPA rating of the Audi, which might be surprising to some unless you've been reading the coverage on it. 204 EPA rated miles for the Audi e-tron.
It's quite low, especially for a 95 kilowatt battery pack, but there's a reason.
Yeah, there's a good reason for it. So they are being extremely conservative about the longevity of the battery pack. So there's a huge reserve of capacity that you cannot access in it. So they are keeping that so that you don't see any kind of degradation long term, which historically we haven't seen a lot for higher end electric vehicles like Teslas, because there is some degradation, but it's not significant for the first few thousand miles really. So they might just be very conservative on it, or they're not so sure about their thermal management system. But I don't think that's the case, because I've seen their management system. They've been pretty open about it, about their old battery pack architecture, and it looks pretty solid to me at least. But the 12% reserve of that 95 kilowatt battery pack, which of course make it a lot less efficient because there's hundreds of pounds of battery pack that you're carrying around all the time and you never get to use. So it's not really a 95 kilowatt battery pack. Well, it is. It's just you don't use it, just overheat or something. Of course, yeah, it has different advantages to do that. Even though the efficiency goes way down and you only get 204 miles of range, you do have access to a higher charger that you're able to maintain for a longer period of time. We've seen it get 155 kilowatt of charge rate, and basically maintain it until well over 50% of the battery pack.
It's almost up to 80%, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, 80%, right? And so that means you get a full charge faster, or at least, well, most people are gonna stop you at 80% anyway. Of course, what we know now is that you're not actually stopping at 80%, you're stopping lower than that. That fact is bigger. Still, it's a different approach. People are saying, oh, they're getting killed by Tesla and everything because they have a competitive product that will go longer with these prototypes. That might be the case. Or, you know what, the market might finally realize that they don't really need more than 204 miles of range for most of the driving, so they might still go with the e-tron. I really don't know, to be honest. We know that it's been a problem for a long time, the kind of range anxiety that people have. I think it's been going down though it's not as big as Autopilot used to be. You could argue that's because of the charging networks going up. You could argue that's because of some longer range cars too. But
if anybody has any questions, we're open here. I have Copilot monitoring the feed, so just let us know. In the meantime, just letting you guys catch up on the news from Electric.
I think of the people's understanding of their own driving habits and how they could fit into electric vehicle ownership is also part of it. So if that's really the case, I'm not mistaken there, then they might find a good market for the e-tron. I guess we're gonna have to wait and see. But next month I'm gonna go drive the US version of it because it's gonna be a little bit different from the European ones. I guess some mirrors. But then we gonna give you another well, maybe not a full review from that, but hopefully we can get the car open longer term and give you a full review within the next 2 months. Then.
When is that? Is that late April? You said?
No, mid-May. I'm driving.
Alright.
The US version. And hopefully they're gonna have some review in September for
Little something in the road there I had to dodge.
That's in Lake Tahoe.
Yeah. We're going to San Francisco, Napa Valley. Napa Valley is under San Francisco. Right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I think we're going from there. We're going to that big town.
Sounds lovely.
Yeah, it should be a nice drive. Never been to that. GM 18 months ago, almost the day, they said they're going to launch 2 new electric cars based on the Chevy Bolt EV. Those were going to be the first 2 cars that launched a series of new vehicles, but those vehicles after the first 2 wouldn't be based on the Chevy Bolt, but on the next generation electric vehicles that Chevy is working on. We've heard of what they call the BLE3, yeah, the BEV credit. Never heard of them. I'd like to have your car, new electric car.
If anybody's curious, a few months ago, whenever we had all the wildfires here on the north side of LA, it was this area. All these hills were just black, and now they're all green and yellow with the wildflowers. But you can still see the trees are still black. Big difference in a few months. Looks like it has a lane change request here. So that was pretty easy. There was nothing really around in its way. We'll see if it's just going to switch back again in a minute. It did give the message though that it wanted to get out of the passing lane.
Look at all that. It's our bread and butter here. Bread and butter at the track. And at first we didn't get the response, so we wrote up a report on it, just trying to shake them a little bit, like you guys need to make more EVs. Then after the reports, they came back to us with quite the answer, if you ask me. They claimed that they did introduce 2 new electric cars in the promised time frame, and those 2 electric cars are. I'm going to pull the full comment here. We have introduced the Buick Elite 6 EV and the Baijian E200 in China within the time frame we said we would in the original announcement. We did not indicate that what markets the vehicle would land in as we compete globally in the landscape. So those 2 cars the spokesperson is referencing here are like a Buick. The Buick Elite is like a Volt looking car that actually was supposed to be based on the Volt powertrain, but they instead updated it to an all-electric powertrain that's like a matchup of a powertrain used by the joint venture partner that they have in China. And the Baijian E220 is like a little bitty small city car, also based on a model by their GV partner in China. So 2 models made by a GV company in China. nothing to do with the Chevy Bolt whatsoever, and only for the Chinese market. So they went from, and I think you had a cool comment about that, said what you said. If that was the case, your press release should have been. From the original announcement, it sounded nothing like two cars are coming. So I'm pretty sure they just came up with those two cars as part of their joint venture partner in China due to the ZD mandate that they have in China. And they said, well, we will release that in a time frame we announced with the two others. So I'm pretty sure the two other cars that were supposed to come based on the Chevy Bolt TV are dead.
I think either canceled or delayed.
Yeah, I think cancel is most likely. And you know what? I'm not sure that's for the worst. And as an EV guy, you might think, you're crazy, Brad, more EVs, better. But the Chevy Bolt EV is launched in 2016, and it's already starting to get old a little bit in terms of like capabilities and everything. It's not a powertrain and everything, it's still pretty good. But the only thing I think could make the Bolt more relevant right now is a price decrease. I think they're gonna have a hard time selling it without the full incentives. So I think they could, if they could bring the Bolt to like mass market production, make like a few 100,000 units per year, and bring the price down to something closer to $25,000, would be a great car, would be a very successful car. That's not the case right now, and putting out more variants of it, not sure would help that much. So if instead they're focusing on the BEV3 platform, next gen platform that would enable not as much reliance on LG, which I think is the part of the problem with the Bolt EV, and I would assume that still be the problem if we base other cars on it. But again, we don't know exactly if that might not be the plan. Maybe they just don't want to sell those cars anymore. I don't know. What do you think, Sam?
Yeah, so with the Bolt, everyone knows I'm a big Bolt fan.
All right, so we have a car pretty much back here in our blind spot. And it's just gonna let that car come by. Looks like.
Even though that there's obviously shortcomings with the appearance, with the interior, it's still very quick. GM made the mistake of kind of putting too much of it in LG's hands, and I think they aren't able to get the price down or do variants as easily as they would be if it was in-house. For instance, you talked about getting the price down. If they made a 40 kilowatt hour one that only went 180 miles or something, I think that would sell incredibly well if they could get the price down under 30,000, before incentives. They could also do a four-wheel drive version of that and actually put a, kind of like an SUV, like on top of it. I think both of those things would do incredibly well, especially if they could get, if they own the technology and they could get the prices down. But they can't. Part of a JV with LG is that they're kind of beholden to LG's whims, and LG is having no problems getting rid of batteries right now. Hyundai, Kia, all over the world, even some Nissans, are using LG batteries, and so Chevy's trying to negotiate down the price of batteries. LG's like, no, we got tons of people who are paying way more. So that's GM's problem. I think if GM worked really hard at getting a Bolt-like product, I mean, there's also they should have sold the Bolt in Europe. It's the perfect car.
They did to some degree, but they sold their whole European operation at the same time.
Yeah, but they should have just sold it as Chevy or whatever. They would have, I think, done much better there because it's a perfect European car. It's really small on the outside, it's kind of roomy on the inside. It's speedy. You could park it in city centers. Anyway, so Chevy's doing just about everything they can possibly do wrong with a perfectly good electric vehicle. So now they need to hit the reset button. Now they're going to go up market with Cadillac. They had the ELR, which is a Chevy Volt with a Cadillac trim on it. It did extremely poorly. Although we had a guy review it for a long time. who liked it quite a bit.
But he did get a giant discount.
Giant discount, and they were even, I mean, it was,
the price made no sense.
right. So, you know, like everybody knows, it's a Chevy Volt. You can't charge $40,000 more for anyway. Hopefully, GM has better luck with the Cadillac. They put the Super Cruise on there. They have a really cool car. I just don't have a lot of faith in, like, there's certain people at GM that seem like they're really on the ball. Like, we met Pam Fletcher at the EV, the first Bolt drive, and I was like, wow, this person is like, she's got everything together. She knows what she's doing. And then you get like the guy who wrecked the Corvette, what's his name? Jerry Royce or something Royce, who makes all these statements like, you know, we're going to support blowing the car race. So I feel like there's a lot of bureaucracy at GM. There's some really smart people there. Obviously, the Bolt is a really good car, but you know, in the marketing and other sectors, I think they've dropped the ball on electric vehicles. Hopefully, they can
In
reset
1
themselves
mile,
with-
keep
with,
left to take
Cadillac.
US 101 north toward
Hopefully that's what they
Ventura.
were doing and not just killing more EVs. We're gonna move on to the last bit of news that we wanted to do today. But if you guys have any question for us that you want us to answer, but they put them now in the chat, and we're gonna try to answer them after this Toyota news that we're gonna mention here. So Toyota announced this week that they're gonna open up 24,000 patents as a license, royalty-free licenses for the 24,000 patents that are related to electric components and systems. But there's a caveat to it, which is that you can only use them if you're making hybrids vehicle or fuel cells. So if you remember back in the day, like maybe 5-6 years ago, just they'll open up all the patents and say,
Now
try
keep
to
left to
accelerate
take
the
US 101 north.
adoption of electric vehicles by letting anyone use or patents. Toyota said exactly the same thing this week, but not all electric vehicles, just they listed HEVs, so pure hybrids, plug-in hybrids, PHEV, and fuel cell electric vehicles. No all electric vehicles are listed there. It sounds like they don't even want people to make electric vehicles based on their electric components, even though some of their electric components have nothing to do with just electric, with just hybrids. They are electric motors, they are electric controllers, so things that have like batteries, things that you can use for both EVs or hybrid electric vehicles. So the way we interpreted the news is that it's really just an attempt to save hybrids vehicle, which sales are going down, versus all electric vehicles, of course. And Toyota has been extremely late to the electric game, which with still no electric vehicles other than the compliance car that they released in the last generation of EVs, like the RAV4 EV, but that was pulled by Tesla. They haven't done anything yet. They're supposed to come out with their first one next year, so we'll see what they do from there. But everything they said, all the language they use, always spell we believe more in hybrids as a transitional step until fuel cell vehicles work, which they never will, at least not in the consumer product type of thing, because it just doesn't make sense. You not only need to build a different car, you need to build a whole different infrastructure, not just like charging station electric vehicles, but all the back-end infrastructure, because unlike electric vehicles, fuel cells don't have the electric grid behind it. There's electricity everywhere. You just plug into it. You need to build a whole new infrastructure to produce hydrogen, and then to move hydrogen, and then to refuel hydrogen tanks. If that doesn't sound like gasoline model, then I don't.
See, Enhanced Summon, I think, is coming on 2019.12, and I have the 2019.8.5 right now, so haven't gotten it yet.
What does, and so they are still sticking to that, and they think that hybrids is going to be the best way to do it until middle time, because of course an hybrid is still powered by gas, and that's a bad look for Toyota. I mean, everything I just said looked like we are helping or our friends in the oil fossil fuel industry hold on to their asset as long as they can. Am I being conspiracy theorist there, Sam?
No, I'm not a fan of Toyota these days. I actually just got rid of my plug-in Prius.
You did?
Yep. I'm fully electric now. I don't have any. There's no gas cars in the lot. So yeah, just really disappointed. And actually, one of our early reviews was the Prius Prime plug-in, which was the upgrade.
No, I haven't had the opportunity to use a V3 yet, and I haven't even gotten to use any of the upgraded V2s yet, which I don't supercharge very often. Today was the first time in quite a while, but I'm looking forward to it. I did get to see the V3 supercharger at the design studio for the Model Y reveal. So, I mean, it just looks like a V3 or a V2 with just a skinnier cable because the cable's water cooled. But it'll be cool to get to charge at that speed.
Plug-in that I had, and it was quite frustrating because the engine kept turning on. It's like, you know, this thing with Toyota and the oil companies. It feels like they're like, nope, you're gonna burn some oil. Like, you know, we have electric, we're giving you great mileage, but you're gonna burn oil, like, or hydrogen, I guess in this case. Like, it just seems like they can't get off of that idea. So, you know, whatever. Like, it doesn't sound like that these patents are going to be worth anything to anybody because everybody's moving to full battery electric.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what they want. Maybe they're just like, hey, you know, anybody out there still doing hydrogen, here's some help. So, should we go to questions?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It doesn't seem like we got.
We found a few. So Daniel Mauricio says, how will the Taycan affect Model S sales? And I think the Taycan might kind of affect Model S sales. You know, clearly, it's kind of aimed at the Model S. Porsche has been, you know, testing the Model S and testing the Taycan against it, so it's clearly in the same kind of realm. What do you think, Brett? Taycan sales?
Yeah, I think that's inevitable. It's going to affect it a little bit because it's directly the same.
So I did order a Model Y, but right now I'm very much on the fence that I'll actually get it. It's just, you know, I expect it'll be 2 years probably before we can actually buy it. And who knows? You know, I might want it then. I definitely like the form factor better. I had really hoped that the Model 3 would be a hatchback. I think overall the Model 3 looks better than the Y, just looks wise, but functionality wise I do like the Y. But I also like the extra efficiency of the 3. I think it's a better like traveling car if you don't need the extra space. So yes, I have one ordered, but I'm not sure that I'll actually get it.
From what we hear so far, the Taycan is going to be a pretty great car. So yeah, it's going to affect them by how much. I really don't know. We'll see until the car needs to launch, and then we need to know exactly what's going to be competing with the Tesla's Model S, because as we just reported earlier in the podcast, there's going to be some upgrades to Model S this year. So let's wait until the end of the year when we see the production version of the Taycan, and what the Model S will become at the end of the year, and then we'll have a good idea of just how close competitors those two cars are. But I definitely think they will be to some degree competitors, and they're gonna still sell from each other.
All right. So Andy Peters says the new capital raise will happen on the investors' AP4 demo later this month. That could be why they're calling an investor thing.
I've been calling for to do a capital raise for a while. I think it was in the last podcast, the podcast before that, where I said right now Tesla is making the consumers and the employees pay for the issues, and indirectly investors are paying through the price dropping, but they should pay through some dilution by doing an
Interior, long range, rear wheel drive. You know, basically the same car that I have now, except black instead of white. I would definitely enjoy performance. One of my friends, my partner with this YouTube channel, has a Performance 3. And I mean, I love the car, and if I could have any car in the world, I would totally want it. But I'm just not willing to pay the extra for it. This one does everything and more that I need. So, yeah, just a rear wheel drive.
do the biggest one they can do, and from there they should use that cash to accelerate all their vehicle programs. The problem is that if they do it right now, they do it from a weak position.
Exactly. They could have done so much better last year.
Yeah, last year or early this year, they could have done much better without this relatively bad quarter. Yeah. Maybe the Autopilot self-driving event might be a good time to just show the investor, here what we got. Pretty cool, right? Want to put some more cash in us?
Right.
Yeah, and that kind of thing. I hope they do. I hope Tesla can get a bigger cash position and use it to build Tesla Semi, accelerate the Model Y program, finally make that $35,000 Model 3 real thing. That'd be nice, right?
Right. Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of areas where Tesla could use some cash at the moment.
Yeah. Like their bank account.
Right. All right. So when do you expect to see the difference in Tesla batteries from the Maxwell technology purchase? That's kind of a interesting question because we don't really know much about what Tesla's buying from Maxwell.
Well, we're gonna start seeing something once they can close that thing. Acquisition. Apparently they had some problem closing it. They've been extending the deadline, but they didn't say originally that they see it close in Q2. So we're just now starting.
In 1 mile, keep left to stay on US 101 North.
There's class action lawsuit from Maxwell investors, so that could be an issue, and just had to extend the deadline. So we'll see. The next few weeks we should have a better idea.
Have you had any issues with navigating Autopilot so far?
So, any issues with Navigate on Autopilot? I wouldn't call it issues. I mean, I've definitely seen some limitations of it. If the cars in the lane that you're trying to get into are moving significantly faster or slower than you are, it's a struggle, and it doesn't do a great job of matching speed. Other than that, I actually tweeted at Elon last night a suggestion that I think would be good for it.
Stay on US 101 North.
It's like I typically drive with the follow distance set out to 7, and a lot of times I'll even put the car in chill mode just so it's not accelerating and decelerating so much or so aggressively. So I could see, like, when you have the follow distance set further out, just use more of that cushion. So don't accelerate so hard, don't decelerate so hard, just try to smooth it out some like that. It also doesn't look as far ahead as it probably could. There have been some instances where I can see brake lights up ahead, and I would totally be slowing down, and it's just cruising along, and then it has to slow down pretty hard. So some more awareness there, and maybe some more awareness of the lane next to you and the speed that it's going. Sometimes it will change lanes and then realize that that lane's actually going even slower and then want to get back over. So, I mean, not necessarily problems, but just limitations of the current software. I'm sure it'll get better eventually. And it'll be a lot better when more cars have it, because then they'll all kind of act similarly. But it's still pretty cool. It's getting closer to being worth the money. I still don't know that it's really worth, I guess it's $8,000 now to get autopilot and full self-driving. I mean, you could buy a whole nother car for that, so I'm not really sure the feature's totally worth it, but it's getting there, and I think it will be one day.
Closing the acquisition, once they closed it, then all their IPs is their IP, so they could start using it freely. But I don't think they can legally use anything they have right now until the acquisition is closed, unless they do a licensing deal. And why would you do licensing? You're about to acquire the company. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. So Cedric Weinstein from Sweden says, everybody, media included, is talking about the Model 3, assuming that's the case all over Europe. Not about the S and X anymore, so those two models have gone under the radar completely. Maybe that accounts for some of the drop in numbers. Let's see.
Yeah, that's fair. Though when that happened in the US, Tesla said that they would actually help Model S and XL because people were coming in, I want that Model 3. And they said, oh yeah, that's going to be a few weeks, a few months, or whatnot. You want that Model S that's in the lot right now? We can get it to you in 2 days. And that wasn't the case in Europe.
Beach Crow says, Fred may be on Tesla's shit list. A certain PR person's YouTube account. Tesla's a business. They don't have to tell all. So
they don't have to tell me anything, but they do answer my question most
tell
of the
the
time.
people. Make a blog post. What's going on with the Model 3?
Yeah.
It's not hard.
I mean, I'm not mad because they're not answering my question. I'm mad because they're not answering basic question that should have been answered in the first place that I shouldn't even have to ask. So it's not about me being on a shit list or something like that. It's about them just being weird about the way they want to communicate their products and their new specs and everything like that.
Yeah, so
their standard range yet. No, we've been through that. Mr. Musk, Elon Musk.
Yeah. So Matt Senkow says the Model 3 should be $38,000 with inflation since the first Model 3 rolled off the line. That also might be a Tesla person account. I don't think I don't think that's going to happen. Or I don't think people are going to be okay with that. Incentives are supposed to rise. Norway can afford their massive incentives because they're
don't get high on your own supply.
Correct. All right, carbon fiber spoilers. What's the radio silence from Tesla on that?
That's insane. I had my Tesla Model 3 for over 6 months now, and Tesla still owes me a spoiler and a badge. They haven't delivered a spoiler and a badge, and it might sound stupid, but I bought them, you owe them to me, and you're not delivering them 6 months after the car. I still love the car. The car is great without a spoiler, it's great without a badge, but it just shows like it embodies Tesla's difficulty in delivering product, like nothing else.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate. Maybe they should outsource that to like EV Annex or the whatever the performance guys. Like,
but then you still need to install it. Like, it's glued on, so it's not that big a deal. But
a spoiler, just like send it out, like outsource that.
Yeah, they keep saying it's gonna be like mobile installation type of thing, so you won't need to bring your car. I'm like, alright, but it's not happening either way. So what do I care? And now I might send my car to California to something like that. Now, so what's gonna happen?
Road trip.
No. But
go across Canada now.
Are you crazy? Half of Canada is nothing. You do nothing. But I was more saying that about saying the car in California. And then, so what does it mean? So this the Montreal was supposed to install my thing. So now can I still get it in California? Or will I ever get my spoiler? Might do a third-party spoiler. Report it on the more aerodynamic one from Unplugged Performance. Maybe I'll just do that instead.
questions. I'm scrolling. No Giga Europe, 12 capital raise.
How do you think Tesla's energy department did in Q1?
Alright,
John? Pretty bad, probably. I mean, Q1 is not the best quarter for solar, first of all. And solar has been going way down for Tesla. They've been waiting for some kind of product demonstration called new solar panels, which are coming later this year, so won't have a big impact on Q1. And of course, the other big one is the solar roof, which again we have no indication of that ramping up just yet. So nothing really great in terms of the energy department. There is of course, when you say energy department, it's probably also being the storage side of things. Some indication that Powerwall might be ramping up a little bit.
In 1 mile, keep left to take US 101 North, California and north toward Ventura.
Here as some of them could be coming as soon as a few weeks.
Yeah, if I don't choose the Founder Series ones, I can get them in 6 to 8 weeks. If I choose the Founder Series one, I have to wait 3 months. And if I wait for a signature from Elon, it may be 3 months to forever. So I'm probably gonna get the white ones.
Yeah, you're not gonna want to wait just for a signature. Or maybe you can invite him for dinner or something at your place at one point, and then he signs them there.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
I think kids ask him some questions. It'd be fun.
Alright, that's gonna be it, guys, for us this week. Thanks a lot for listening and watching on YouTube. Thanks a lot to our sponsor, The Lion. And we're gonna see you same time, same place next week. For this week's episode of the podcast, I'm going to do it online.
Was going to slow down enough to let me in, so I just gave it a little bit of accelerator to just help it get in that gap. But it changed lanes all on its own. Let's see. About Ride the Lightning.
On this week's episode of Ride the Lightning, the Tesla unofficial podcast, Autopilot. On this week's episode of Ride the Lightning, the Tesla unofficial podcast, Tesla releases their first quarter production and delivery numbers. The full self-driving computer, aka Hardware 3, is done and ready to be shown off. Norway achieves a major related milestone and more. With you for episode 192 of Ride the Lightning, the weekly Tesla unofficial podcast for April 7th, 2019. To my left, looking out the window as she winds down for the night, the one, the only Daisy the Boxer puppy. She had a good romp at the park today, had a good time. Been a bit of a rainy week once again here, but we're used to it now. We're just getting around it. Anyway, last weekend, of course, was the end of the first quarter. That last crunch, Saturday and Sunday, were the 30th and the 31st, at the very end of the quarter. And Tesla did a fun thing that I think was probably partially a test, but also certainly a good opportunity for a little, PR is not the right word, but maybe just a little fun awareness of what the company is up to. Pretty loaded up with some Model 3s, and I think there was a Model S on there as well. And they took another Tesla to a new home. They posted some pictures and videos of it on their social media channels. So if you follow Tesla on Twitter and or on Instagram. You can check that stuff out. But yeah, like I said, it was just a neat glimpse of the future, because I mean, in the future, entire fleets of Tesla semis will exist, and they'll be able to do that around the world, assuming the cars don't deliver themselves, which might actually